The point about our wicked problem is that it's so complex that it almost seems to resist solution. And so, for example, if you take the plastics in the ocean issue that has been pressing in recent years, if you take antibiotic resistance, or you take chronic obesity and all the diseases that cluster around that, particularly diabetes. These things are very, very difficult to think your way around and through. That is one of the key characteristics of wicked problems. And in terms of super wicked problems, the climate emergency and possibly the biodiversity emergency alongside that, both been described as super wicked. In a sense, they're even more damnably complicated.
The advice for every entrepreneur: find a problem you're passionate about solving. Develop a business model that enables you to deliver impact and profit at the same time. And try to build an impact unicorn, which is a venture that's not just worth $1 billion, but improves the lives of 1 billion people.
The point about our wicked problem is that it's so complex that it almost seems to resist solution. And so, for example, if you take the plastics in the ocean issue that has been pressing in recent years, if you take antibiotic resistance, or you take chronic obesity and all the diseases that cluster around that, particularly diabetes. These things are very, very difficult to think your way around and through. That is one of the key characteristics of wicked problems. And in terms of super wicked problems, the climate emergency and possibly the biodiversity emergency alongside that, both been described as super wicked. In a sense, they're even more damnably complicated.
The advice for every entrepreneur: find a problem you're passionate about solving. Develop a business model that enables you to deliver impact and profit at the same time. And try to build an impact unicorn, which is a venture that's not just worth $1 billion, but improves the lives of 1 billion people.
The point about our wicked problem is that it's so complex that it almost seems to resist solution. And so, for example, if you take the plastics in the ocean issue that has been pressing in recent years, if you take antibiotic resistance, or you take chronic obesity and all the diseases that cluster around that, particularly diabetes. These things are very, very difficult to think your way around and through. That is one of the key characteristics of wicked problems. And in terms of super wicked problems, the climate emergency and possibly the biodiversity emergency alongside that, both been described as super wicked. In the sense they're even more damnably complicated.
The advice for every entrepreneur: find a problem you're passionate about solving. Develop a business model that enables you to deliver impact and profit at the same time. And try to build an impact unicorn, which is a venture that's not just worth $1 billion, but improves the lives of 1 billion people.
The point about our wicked problem is that it's so complex that it almost seems to resist solution. And so, for example, if you take the plastics in the ocean issue that has been pressing in recent years, if you take antibiotic resistance, or you take chronic obesity and all the diseases that cluster around that, particularly diabetes, these things are very, very difficult to think your way around and through. That is one of the key characteristics of wicked problems, and in terms of super wicked problems, the climate emergency and possibly the biodiversity emergency alongside that, both been described as super wicked. In a sense, they're even more damnably complicated.
The advice for every entrepreneur: find a problem you're passionate about solving. Develop a business model that enables you to deliver impact and profit at the same time. And try to build an impact unicorn, which is a venture that's not just worth $1 billion, but improves the lives of 1 billion people.
The point about our wicked problem is that it's so complex that it almost seems to resist solution. And so, for example, if you take the plastics in the ocean issue that has been pressing in recent years, if you take antibiotic resistance, or you take chronic obesity and all the diseases that cluster around that, particularly diabetes, these things are very, very difficult to think your way around and through. That is one of the key characteristics of wicked problems, and in terms of super wicked problems, the climate emergency and possibly the biodiversity emergency alongside that, both been described as super wicked. In a sense, they're even more damnably complicated.
Good evening, everyone. And to many of you, it is my great pleasure to say welcome back. My name is Gordon Eichhorst. I'm one of the co-founders here at Impact Central, and I'm also one of your co-hosts for the evening. This is our 7th showcase event, and it's just such a great opportunity for us to share with you the amazing ventures that are on our program. We have a fantastic showcase for you tonight. We're going to start by giving you a little bit of a taste of what it's like to be on an Impact Central Accelerator program with the fabulous Ginny Radmel, who's going to run a little mini session for us. And then we're going to be joined by Silicon Valley superstar and best-selling author Dave Evans, who's going to be joining us live from California. And of course, it wouldn't be a December showcase without our now famous Christmas gift guide. But of course, the stars of the show tonight are the 7 ventures who are now halfway through our accelerator program. And like our name says, Impact Central is about making a difference, an impact. And all 7 of these ventures really deliver on that promise. Now, some of you might be saying, if this is your first showcase, what exactly is Impact Central? Well, we run a 6-month accelerator program for impact startups. And what is an impact startup? Well, for us, it's a for-profit venture that also has a social and or an environmental mission. And what that means is that the better the business does, the more impact that it can have. Now, as I said, we run a 6-month program, and we're halfway through that program with these 7 ventures. And we've gone through the first 3 phases, which we call lead, build, and grow. So lead is all about leadership. It's about defining your culture. It's about aligning your mission and getting that all straightened out. And then in the second part of the program, the second phase, we do build. And that's developing the core skills that you need to build your business, like strategy, branding, marketing, financial modeling. And then finally, in our growth phase, we talk about how you're going to scale your business, how you're going to get the resources you need in order to turn that vision that you have into reality. And of course, the 7 ventures, after tonight, they'll be going into the second half of our program, where we give them each a mentor who's going to work with them over the next 12 weeks. Now, I love Showcase. It's such a great opportunity for these ventures to share with you all that they've learned, and it's also a great chance for us to show our excitement about how great it is for us to be able to support them. But after Showcase, I often speak with audience members who always ask me the same 3 questions. The first question is, well, they're kind of small. Can they really make a difference? Second question, how can they compete against those large corporations? And the third question, well, aren't they a bit kind of early stage risky as investments? And I want to answer all 3 of those questions right from the start tonight. So first of all, yes, they are small. But whether they make a difference is actually partially up to you. Polls indicate that people really are looking for ways to change social injustice and make a difference with our environment. Well, here is a way. Support these businesses, buy their products. If they can turn you into a customer, they're not going to be small for long. Large corporations, unfortunately, they're not going to be part of the solution. We've been dealing with this now for 30 years, and unfortunately, they just don't have the incentives to act. They're not doing anything that's really helping us, while our planet is really suffering. So it's not going to be the FTSE 100 or the S&P 500 companies that are going to save us. And finally, with regards to investment, of course, they're startups, they're risky. But startups are also trying to do different things in a new way. And with risk is the second half of that, which is, of course, reward. And with an impact startup, there's 2 elements to reward. First, of course, there's a financial possibility of reward, but also an impact reward. And the best way I can maybe describe is to describe that with a previous example. So Newground Coffee, they were on our first accelerator, and they help ex-offenders. They've helped 5 ex-offenders through training and employment and really changed their lives. And at the same time, they've built a coffee roasting business from really nothing to over £1 million in revenue. So their investors, not just getting a financial return, they also have the joy of knowing that their investment has actually changed the lives of people. So that's something to think about next time when you're kind of feeling like maybe an impact investment is kind of risky. Now, before I introduce our first speaker tonight, I want to tell you about our brochure. If you haven't seen it already, go to the the chat on YouTube, and you can download our brochure. It has a lot of information about the speakers, it has their contact details, the ventures, and also more information about the program. So please download that, or you can go to the Showcase webpage, Showcase landing page on our website, and also download it there. And with that, it is my great pleasure to announce our first speaker for the evening, and that is Flor Oliveira from Beyond.
It's a cold evening. It's early November 2015, and I'm in our kitchen preparing a roast chicken for dinner. At the same time, I had my cat Cookie moving around my legs, asking for cuddles, meowing at me. I am meowing back at him. And I look at the chicken about to go in the oven, and I look at my cat. And suddenly, at that moment, something clicked. And I had just made the best decision of my life. I had decided to go vegan. And I was thrilled, I was excited, I was so happy, I was feeling powerful, I was feeling like I was going to save the planet. But what is actually the most efficient way to save the planet? Well, according to Oxford University, I was really going to save it with a plant-based diet. And I was like, yay, sure, I can do this. I'm just going to have to learn how to make my delicious lasagna with lentils. And I'm going to have to stop buying leather boots. That's fine, easy, I can do that. But after the dream comes reality, and I've learned the hard way that adopting a vegan or a plant-based diet isn't really that simple, not just for me, but for everyone. And this is how Beyond's story began. This report from the European Consumer Organization confirms just how we are, all of us consumers, trying to adopt healthier and more sustainable lifestyles. But high prices, unclear information, and lacking accessibility are preventing us from making this the mainstream lifestyle. Also, some internal research confirmed that 39% of people inquired abandoned the transition to a plant-based diet due to high prices, and 42% struggled due to misleading and incorrect information. The image on the slide shows Groupon listing a meaty Sunday roast as a vegan option. So, as you can see, there are some high barriers to adopting this lifestyle: high prices and poor user experience. So, based on these challenges, Beyond was born, a free app and a marketplace that gathers in just one place everything you need for this lifestyle in a trustworthy way. From experiences to products to restaurants, we literally gather everything you need for this lifestyle, always with deals to encourage you not just to try, but to stick to this lifestyle if you wish to do so. Imagine yourself finding delicious, guaranteed plant-based restaurants around you, or being able to find and book cool experiences. Imagine you could learn how to make delicious Portuguese custard tarts with only natural and plant-based ingredients, or even getting the best deals on high-quality, durable fashion accessories. Beyond brings everything you need for an inspiring, exciting, and above all, guilt-free lifestyle. Why now? Why now is the right moment for a marketplace like Beyond? Well, the vegan market is growing, and the global vegan market has been estimated to be worth $35.5 billion by 2027, an increase of 43% in just 5 years. And also, mostly due to COVID, consumers have become more and more aware of the impact of their choices on the environment, meaning that veganism is definitely growing exponentially worldwide. And Beyond is here to help to make this transition easier for everyone. As a marketplace, as a free app that has been downloaded over 5,000 times, we provide a direct marketing channel to plant-based brands and operators, and we take a commission on the sales made on our platform. On the other hand, we are combining the easy access to everything you need with prices you can actually pay. And we have partnered with some of the most reputable plant-based brands in Europe, such as British Watch, Nude, Nye, Le Fric, and many others, and we are onboarding new restaurants to bring you delicious dining experiences. And don't be fooled. The sushi on the slide is 100% made from plants, and it has been our best-selling deal since we launched our pilot in Lisbon in 2019. My name is Flor. I'm a mom, I'm a foodie, I'm a nature and animal lover, and together with Alex, our co-founder, we want to ensure that consumers can make the right choices that respect the planet we live in. The time for us to act is now. Join us, take a seat. The table is ready, and a kinder future is being served for all. Right now, we are looking for investment opportunities to scale, and we are looking for partnerships to bring Beyond to the UK. If you want to get involved or if you want to know more, please do get in touch with us or check our website or download our app on the Apple Store and subscribe to our newsletter to know all about our launching date. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Flora. You've gotten us off to a great evening. I know a lot of you are thinking about going vegan or have looked into it, but maybe you don't know where to find the right resources. Well, Beyond is a great way to start that journey. And once again, if you want to figure out how can you get in touch with Flor or learn more about Beyond, please download the brochure. Again, it's in the YouTube chat, or you can also see it on our website and download it to get all the information you need. It is now my great pleasure to announce our second speaker of the night, and that's Radhika Srinivasan of Ecotextura.
PPE, personal protective equipment. Who would have thought that in 2 years we'd be carrying around our masks just like we do our phones, and PPE would become the new normal? Whilst PPE has done a great job in protecting our health, we're damaging the health of the environment in the process. And in the 10 seconds I took since starting this presentation, 500,000 masks have been used across the world. That's 3 million every minute. Most of which are thrown away and made from microplastics that get released into the environment and stay there for decades. Can you imagine what 3 million masks look like in a pile in front of you? Now add on hundreds of thousands of gowns, shoe covers, coveralls, you name it, all piling on and being sent to landfill and incinerators every minute. Well, that's the reality of it. And this is an unacceptable situation. I made it my goal to stop this. My name is Radhika Srinivasan. I'm the CEO and founder of Ecotextura. And I started Ecotextura in 2019 before the pandemic with the goal to create better and more sustainable PPE. You see, I was once a patient in 2015 with a knee problem, regularly visiting NHS and private hospitals. And this is where I became frustrated with the amount of waste that was created by PPE. When I was made to wear gowns, they would hardly fit properly and they were a struggle to get on. And the doctors and nurses that I spoke to were always complaining about their comfort. And that's when I realized we really need to put a stop to this inconsiderately designed PPE that we wear right now. So I'm an engineer and I have a background in materials, and I sought out to search what the ultimate PPE would look like. And this is what I concluded. It had to fit really well and also offer the protection that normal PPE does at the moment. It had to be disability friendly and designed inclusively as well. And finally, it had to be designed in a way that avoids landfill, avoids incinerators, and avoids releasing microplastics into the environment. What we have to remember is that the medical waste crisis pre-existed the pandemic. The world spent $54 billion on PPE in 2019. And with the rising population, the rising risk in pandemics now, also the increase in healthcare demand, and the rise in population of those with disabilities, it all leads to one thing: more sustainable and more inclusively designed PPE. So that's why I started Ecotextura. I began developing the supply chain. I began doing research and development into our new non-woven medical fabrics which could be compostable. I redesigned the masks and the gowns that we were made to wear. And then COVID hit, 6 months later after I started. But luckily, because of our launch, we were in a position where we could help with the PPE shortage. We supplied masks and other PPE products to the NHS and organizations all across the world. What's special to me is reflecting back on 2015 when I had a knee injury and the NHS were helping me. And now I'm in a position as a supplier to assist them in their time of need. So what does sustainable PPE look like? What is the best case scenario? It has to be PPE that is made from renewable fibers and materials. It's PPE that doesn't release microplastics when it's used. It can be reused, recycled, or composted after use, and it offers medical grade protection. And this is key. Plastic that is used in PPE at the moment is so robust and a great material to use, but replacing it is very tricky and is the real challenge. But we've managed to do it. Not only is PPE environmental, but it has to be inclusive too. And that's why we designed our clear panel medical masks that are being used in NHS trusts across the country. All of our other products follow this inclusivity theme as well. For example, hairnets that are designed for ethical hairstyles and more. We have a great network of OEMs that manufacture our proprietary design products, and in the last year, we sold over £180,000 worth of products. Our customers include the NHS and the governments and organizations across the world, and we've also received some incredible international coverage for our products. This includes The Guardian, The Times, we've been included in a BBC documentary, in addition to so much more. So, we're only getting started. The next steps are, we have a great supply chain, which we are using to develop and supply completely compostable PPE. We're doing R&D into our new non-woven fabrics that are also compostable. We have a fantastic range of new products being released, and that's why we need your help. So if you can support us, make sure you think, just remember that you have the power to, just remember that you have the power to vote for more sustainable and inclusive design PPE. Make sure that the next mask that you buy is environmentally friendly and is from Ecotextura. If you know anyone who needs clear panel masks, recommend us. We're also looking to scale up and interested in investment opportunities. So if you think you can help, please get in touch. At Ecotextura, we want to make the sustainable choice the easy choice. Thank you.
Thanks, Radhika. That was a fantastic presentation and how relevant with everything that's going on in the world right now. So my name's Ian. I'm one of the 3 co-founders here at Impact Central. And I guess, like me, plenty of you have been working from home over the last year or 2. And that's brought about a whole number of challenges, particularly for those of us who've been making calls on platforms like Zoom and Teams. In that situation, how are we making sure that we're getting our points across as effectively as possible? How are we making sure that we're influencing the others in the meeting as the way we want to? How are we making sure that we're achieving our objectives? Well, our fantastic faculty member, Ginny Radmal, has been working with this cohort to help them answer those questions. And I'm delighted to welcome Ginny to the showcase this evening to share some of her insights with us. Ginny, why don't you join us?
Thank you, Ian. Over the last 18 months, I've been working with people online to help them communicate confidently. And in the next 10 minutes, I'll take you through my 4 top tips to present with confidence online. When it comes to the ultimate Zoom fatigue that we've all been experiencing, the research suggests that there are 2 key things that have been making us feel really exhausted over calls. The first is, if you're in the same room as a group of people, we can hear from the way that somebody breathes that they're about to say something, or we see them fidgeting on their chair and we know that they're bored. But when it comes to a Zoom call, we don't have those non-verbal cues. Our brain is still searching for them, furiously trying to decode all the behavior we can see in front of us. And the second thing is the constant split attention. We're staring at a grid of faces, and it's really hard work trying to follow and see when somebody's about to speak, when somebody is getting tired of the conversation. So the first thing to be aware of is what you're doing to either pull your audience towards you or push them away from you. When we're speaking, we all have habits. We're human beings. And the other thing to note is that because we are human beings, we often have this rush of adrenaline or cortisol. This is known as an amygdala hijack. That part of your brain which processes fear and threat gets really overwhelmed when you stand up to speak. Even if you're a seasoned speaker, you'll sometimes experience that moment. So it's worth thinking, what do you do when you're speaking that either distracts or aids your audience? I'm going to invite Ian up just to share a couple of habits from his end as well. But for me, I know that when I'm speaking, I can sometimes speak very quickly. The amount of words to say in a minute so your audience keep up with you, it should be around 140 words per minute. So you're welcome to keep count for me. Ian, how about for yourself? What challenges do you find when you're speaking?
Yeah, I guess when you're in quite a large meeting online and people are kind of coming in and out of the screen and on screen and so forth, I think it's just checking in to see that your point's being understood by everybody, to making sure that as far as you can there's eye contact or whatever, and just making sure everybody's included in the meeting.
We'd love you also to write some of your challenges that you've experienced while on Zoom calls, whether it's similar to Ian's of trying to keep the room engaged, or whether it's more around mine with the speed. Feel free to write for us something you find challenging when you're on a Zoom or a Teams call. What habits do you have? So the next thing, once you've worked out what your habit might be, you can then put something in place to prove as an alternative to that. And the first thing to think about is, what is the structure of your talk? People often comment that the time constraint is the biggest challenge. And the presenters this evening have had 5 minutes to present their company. Well, the good news for them is back in 1953, James Watson and Francis Crick presented the double helix structure, which is widely considered one of the most important discoveries of the 20th century. And they had 5 minutes in which to present that. And there are a few things you can do to make sure that you're hitting on the main points in your talk. The first is to consider, what is your key message? If your audience were to leave thinking one thing, what should that be? Identify your key message. Secondly, what do you want them to feel? What's the emotion you want them to convey? You should be moving your audience to doing something. And that leaves us to the last point of this, which is, what should they do in response? What's the action you're wanting them to take? Stories are a brilliant way of doing this. Stanford University did some research a few years back, and they found that when a story is told well, it's 22 times more memorable than a fact. And that's just because of what is the makeup of a story and what sticks in our brains. So think about the beginning of your presentation. How are you setting the scene for us in a similar way that at the beginning of any good story, the scene is set? What's happening in the middle? How are you introducing the meat of your presentation and keeping us focused? And how are you concluding or wrapping it all up? What is that journey that you take us on? The other thing that stories have are emotion. So again, thinking about moving your audience. And then the final thing is that they always use concrete language. When somebody tells you a story and you remember it, it's usually because your brain has been picturing or imagining something. So think about what it is you want your audience to picture or imagine. When you use lots of abstract jargon, very complicated language, it's really hard for our brain to grab hold of that. And the best thing to do is to try and use this much more concrete language. If you think about how you present your idea, then that's the next most important thing. If you think about the Mona Lisa, $860 million worth painting, and the way it's presented is in this beautiful glass box in the Louvre. If it was just shoved up in a ratty old frame at the back of a gallery, we might not see it in quite the same light. So the next thing you'll need to consider is, what are you doing to present your idea and to bring it to life? What are you doing with your body language and your voice as you're speaking to add to the message rather than to distract from it? There are a couple of really good techniques that I always teach the people I work with before they start to present. And Ian and I are just going to take you through a couple of those exercises to give you an idea of what you can do to manage your nerves and to present your best self when you're in your next meeting. So the first thing we're going to show you is a posture exercise. You're probably sitting down right now, so we'll explain this for you sat down and stood up, although Ian and I will show you the stood up version of this. But it's worth considering, how are you sat down in your meetings? Are you slouched over? Are your elbows on the desk in front of you? It's naturally going to lose some of the height and some of the impact as you're sat there. So the best thing to do is to imagine that you have a piece of string which goes from the bottom of your feet all the way up through your core and then out through the top of your head. If you're sat down at the moment, just uncross your legs and place them flat on the floor for me. And Ian and I are going to stand with our feet shoulder width apart and our toes facing forwards, a little bit like we're on skis. And then imagine you've got this piece of string coming out through the top of your head. We're going to go onto our tiptoes. We're going to imagine pulling that piece of string from the top of your head, and you can do the same thing at home. And then bringing your arm down to your side before slowly lowering back down onto your heels. And what you should experience is this stretching out, this elongating of your spine. This is how we are built to stand, but we often adapt those more slouching habits. So see if you can stay sat up or stood up nice and tall as we take you through the next two exercises. When you start to speak, or when you're in that 30 seconds just before, you might realize that your heart starts to beat quite quickly. That's just because you have a huge amount of adrenaline rushing through you. And you also realize that your breathing can become quite shallow. It feels like you're breathing from your chest rather than from your diaphragm. So to try and take those much more controlled breaths, try and place your hand onto your stomach. You can do this at home. So it should be just above your belly button, but below your rib cage, nestled in there. That's perfect.
Right.
And see if you can breathe out through your mouth like you're blowing out a candle. So you can just take a gentle breath out and try and get all of the air out of your lungs. You're squeezing from where your hand is on your stomach. Then when you get to the end of that breath, you're just going to take a little breath in through your nose. Good, and then you can breathe out again on a nice out breath. And then you can do that once more, taking a little breath in, followed by a longer breath out through your mouth. Good. And if you're watching really closely, what you might see with Ian and I right now is that when we breathe out, our stomachs are actually sucking in towards our spine. Then when we take a breath in, it comes out away from our stomach. So the final exercise I'll show you is one just to make sure that when you're speaking, your diction is really strong. There's no point having an amazing script only to make it all fall apart with people not being able to understand what you're saying. The other thing to note is that the biggest part of what you're communicating is through your body language at 55%. 38% is the tonality in your voice, including your diction. And then the final 7% is the text you're actually saying. So let's show you this quick diction exercise. Imagine you have toffee stuck in your teeth that you're trying to get rid of, and you're just going to do this. So you're moving your tongue between your lips and your teeth. And then you can even give yourself a little jaw massage. So you're moving both your hands up to the side of your jaw. If it's really sore or really tight, you might even feel that you can push your knuckles slightly in towards this space up near your ears. Very good. And then you can just scrunch your face up. And then open your mouth nice and wide as well. Very good. So you hopefully look suitably ridiculous for the last few minutes. Thank you very much, Ian.
Great, thank you.
And those are a great set of exercises just to make you feel nice and warmed up. So then the final thing to think about is, what is your tech setup? The sound that you create when you're speaking, you often don't know how you sound for your audience, whether the sound is crackly, whether it's too quiet, too loud. So check your mic, ask somebody else to give you some feedback. How well can they hear you? And if you're coming out as really quiet, you might need to go into the settings in your computer, adjust the input level in the sound just to make sure that you are giving that microphone enough volume to amplify the sound, making sure it's not too high so that you're picking up too much white noise. The other thing is your lighting. Even if you don't have the most brilliant camera in the world, the lighting can make a huge amount of difference. You should always have more light coming towards your face than you do behind you. So if you have a window behind you or a really bright light at the back of your room, you might realize you look a little bit shadowy. So get a nice light in front of you. Then think about the height of your laptop. Get it so your camera is at eye level. You can also stand as you're presenting to give you more energy, but at the very least, make sure that you've boosted your laptop up a little bit so it's a bit higher. And then the final thing to remember is that if you are presenting with slides, your slides should always be your backup dancers. We like to hide behind our slides, but my note to end on for you is that you are Beyoncé, your slides are your backing dancers, and make sure it always stays that way around. I hope you've enjoyed the last 10 minutes and you can take away some top tips for your next presentation. I'll bring Ian back on.
Great, thanks, Ginny. That was terrific. Yeah, I'm feeling most Beyoncé-like now, I must say. So thanks for that. Wonderful tips there. Thank you so much. Now, let's move on. It's my great pleasure to introduce the founder of our next fantastic business that we'd like to present this evening. This is Tracy Banks, and she's going to tell us about Unpacked.
Let me ask you some questions. Are you a diligent recycler? Do you try your best but find it all a bit confusing? Are your recycling bins always overflowing? Well, what if I was to tell you that only 9% of all plastic ever made has actually been recycled? Now picture your grocery shopping. Almost 50% of all supermarket packaging isn't even recyclable. Do you ever give a second thought to that rubbish when you throw that away? Where is away? Away is landfill, soil pollution, and methane gas. Away is incineration and toxic air pollution. Away is dumping and ocean pollution. Our waste system is broken, and if we carry on doing what we're doing, although we're trying our hardest, it's not going to get any better. And whilst recycling is needed, it's not the answer. If we really are going to cut waste, there has to be another way. I'm Tracy Banks, founder of Unpacked. Like most of you, I believed in recycling until I realised I just shifted the problem from one bin to another. I also realised that the main culprit for packaging waste was the everyday essentials and food that I simply needed to buy. So back then, in 2017, I started hearing about the so-called zero waste stores, where you take your own containers to refill. Perfect, I decided to give it a go. Easier said than done. The extra trip just wasn't worth it. When I did manage to get to the store, when it was open, I came away with a mountain of rice, left most of it on the floor, an expensive haul of nuts, and a whole array of grains no one eats. Whilst the cupboard of jars looked great, the impact on our waste wasn't so great. So I decided, what our busy home needed was the convenience of delivery, just without the waste. So I created Unpacked, a refill delivery service. Think package-free Ocado crossed with the milkman. We deliver refills of dry foods, toiletries, and cleaning products. We use returnable, reusable containers, and we deliver in 100% electric. There's 4 simple steps. You order, we deliver, you decant, and then return the containers. You order online on our website for essential foods and family favourites, brands. We deliver a wooden crate full of your plastic-free shopping, Kellogg's in cereal bags, in cotton bags, and biscuits and crisps in tins, and Ecover washing up and laundry liquid in glass bottles. You decant into your own containers, be that Tupperware, glass, or tins. When you need more, you reorder online, leaving your crate of unpacked empties on your doorstep on delivery day. We swap full for empties, milkman style, to be washed and reused again and again. So how's it going? Well, to prove the concept, we've been operating in a small local area, changing the shopping habits of over 130 customers. We stock over 200 products and have delivered in excess of 14,000 refills. Our regular customers are hooked. Once you go Unpacked, you can't go back. And what about our waste? The impact on waste. Well, we've already diverted over 40,000 items of waste from our customers' homes. That's 2,000 supermarket trolleys full of plastic not entering the broken waste system, and a reduction in the UK's annual waste equivalent to 200 households. We're currently servicing a small fraction of 1% of our current catchment area. Imagine the impact we could achieve if we were to reach the same small percentage of households across the UK. That would be the equivalent of the annual plastic waste of 730,000 households. In fact, our ambition is to do that and more by creating a network of local franchise hubs across the country. Now, we're productionizing and scaling this first hub with a focus on team, marketing, and systems, for which we'll be fundraising mid-next year. So now, if you are giving a second thought to your waste in your home, join our refill delivery revolution. If you or someone you know lives in our delivery area, try us out with this discount code. This QR code will take you to our website, social media channels, and newsletter sign-up. If we don't deliver to your area yet, go to our website, join our waitlist. Our next franchise will be where demand is the greatest. Our waste system is fundamentally broken, and Unpacked is an easy and convenient solution. If you want to get more involved and help us change the system, please get in touch.
Thanks for that, Tracy. Really loved that. What a great presentation. And as Tracy says, once you go Unpacked, you can't go back. Now, I'd really like to move on to our next presenter of the evening to hear about their business and their venture. It's a real pleasure to introduce to you Namita Muthukrishnan, Nam, who's going to tell us all about Saisha London.
Hi, my name is Nam, and I'm the founder and Chief Empowerment Officer here at Saisha London. Saisha London is a skincare brand that focuses on the needs of melanin-rich skin. When I was in my early 20s, just getting ready for my career, finding my independence in the world, and really finding my voice in this new world that I was coming into, I suddenly was struck with cystic acne. Cystic acne is a very painful condition where acne grows under your skin, and even lying down on the pillow can become a bit of a nightmare. With cystic acne came hyperpigmentation, scars that just took forever to fade, and a level of confidence that was so low, I did not know how to recover. As anyone would, I turned to Big Pharma and the multinational skincare companies saying, hey, you guys can help me, right? I didn't get any solutions. In fact, after years of trying products, spending so much money, the only thing it did was reduce my confidence even more. And you may think, well, is this just one person complaining about skincare products that didn't work for her melanin skin? Well, actually, research shows that melanin-rich skin is quite unique. Our beautiful brown golden skin is rich in melanin, which means that we have well-moisturized skin, which prevents premature aging. However, the well-moisturized skin adds to cystic acne, skin congestion, as well as sensitivity and hyperpigmentation. And redness, which happens to also be a common side feature. And when I was going through this condition, I felt quite alone, because when I would search the word acne, and this is 10 years ago, and even today, when I search the word acne, all I find are images of people who don't look like me. In fact, on the first page of Google Images, that's the first 420 images, when I look for acne, I see only 14 images with people of color. Again, telling me, and a lot of people who look like me, that, you're not supposed to have acne, are you? Over and over again, the message I got as I was suffering was that if our products don't help your melanin-rich skin, it's your skin really that's the problem. And I just don't think that's the right message, especially considering, and in the UK alone, we're 9 million people of color, who this message is going out to. And I said, someone has to do something about this. And hold on, why not me? Which is why I started Saisha London. Saisha London is a skincare brand that is focused on the natural principles of Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a life science from the Asian subcontinent, and it's over 5,000 years old. My great-grandfather was a well-known doctor in his circle, and he passed on his Ayurvedic knowledge to my grandmother as well as my mother, who in turn passed it on to me. Using this knowledge, I formulate my products using a 3-step method, the foundation of which is do no harm. None of our ingredients cause any sensitivity to skin or are comedogenic. And all of our ingredients work towards curing the function or curing the problem and are restorative so that they become a long-term companion to our users. Want to know more? Well, this is one of my clients, Sarah, who after 2 pregnancies and the hormonal cycles that go up and down with pregnancies, had skin that was quite compromised. And at the end of the day, she'd given up. This is how it's going to be. This is her after she started using our skincare products, absolutely clear, and absolutely confident. Today, I'm so proud to say that she's someone who's doing so well, and she's gone on to do so much better. And I bet you empowerment and confidence is a big reason behind it. In 2020, we also released our product range to rave reviews, and it's now been sold out. And we were also noticed by Stretching, which is an assisted stretching studio based in Covent Garden in central London, amongst other locations. And we are their partners for providing oil for face therapy as well as foot therapy oils. We at Saisha London are all about choice. We think that melanin-rich skin needs more choice, and consumers deserve better. We also believe that choice is another important aspect of making sure that we as a community are safe. Gender-based violence is on the rise in the UK, particularly disproportionately affecting women and the LGBTQ+ community, which is why we, as a skincare brand, want to empower consent education in schools through local partners such as the East London Business Association. We just delivered a training to the Lister School in Newham Council on consent education, and that's what we really mean by grassroots level. This is who we are as a brand. We believe that skincare shouldn't be complicated, and skincare shouldn't be compromised because the big guys don't want to do any better for us. If you are interested, or if you know someone who's got melanin-rich skin, or if you are a person with melanin-rich skin, make sure you check us out on our website, saishalondon.co.uk. Please follow us on Instagram so we can keep this conversation going. And if you head online to our website and order a product today, use the code IMPACT5 to get £5 off, either on the custom-created face oil for all skin types or for the acne-prone face oil for melanin-rich skin. Thank you.
Thanks for that great presentation, Nam. I love the way that you're addressing the needs of 9 million people in the UK who've had to deal with inferior products. It's really inspirational. It is my great pleasure now to introduce our next speaker, who is a great friend of Impact Central. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to take us over to the video link because he's out in California. So why don't you come along with me? Thanks, Gordon. And now, coming to us live from Santa Cruz, California, Dave Evans. Hey, Dave. Thanks for joining us tonight as we celebrate our 7th cohort here at Impact Central.
It's great to be with you again, Gordon. I wish I was in London. I like it better when we do it that way, but, this isn't bad.
Well, that's right, because, you've been such a great supporter of our program. You were one of our original faculty members, right? You joined us in person on the first cohort back in 2018.
That's right.
And for those people in our audience that don't know your background, I'm going to highlight 3 titles. The first one is entrepreneur, and you were one of the early members at Apple and also a co-founder at Electronic Arts. Second title is author of the #1 New York Times best-selling book, Designing Your Life, and more recently, Designing Your Work Life. And the third title is educator, because you are the co-director of the Life Design Lab at Stanford University. So thanks again for joining us tonight, Dave.
Thanks, Gordon. Yeah, it's all true.
One of the themes that is resonating right now is finding meaning in your work. And you've been helping people design better lives for a while now. Is that a new topic?
Well, it's not a new topic for us. We've been talking about it since day one. And before I taught at Stanford, starting 15 years ago, I taught at Cal and similar things 8 years before that. So I've been talking about this formally for over 20 years. But as a matter of fact, that question's getting a huge renewal worldwide, particularly around a thing called the Big Quit, which is a little bigger in North America than it is in Europe right now, but it's coming your way. And I was just standing in New York in a room full of chief human resource officers and chief learning and development officers talking about exactly that. I want to jump briefly into that conversation to tee up your point and come back into the little conversations. We can have the slides up, please. There we go. Okay. So is life design what we do the answer to the Big Quit? Well, first of all, the graph you're seeing here is the Gallup data, which has been gathered both nationally in North America and internationally for over 22 years. And here's the bottom line. Engagement sucks. Okay. It's 64% in the US, 85% globally, people disengaged at work. That's been going on for over 20 years. It's actually a little better than it used to be, but it's gone from hellacious to merely sucks. And so what's going on here is now this Big Quit is happening, and 16 million people have quit, in North America in the last 4 months, and it hasn't stopped yet. Everybody's freaking out. Like, oh my God, what happened? Well, what happened is same old, same old. There's no new issue. There's a new intolerance for the old issue. We've been frustrated at work for a very, very long time. So what's going on is if you ask Gallup, what's going on, here's their description. This global engagement pattern gives evidence how performance is managed, specifically how people are developed, and it's misfiring. Wow, there's a deep insight. People mostly get annual reviews to provide feedback and so on. The new workforce, by the way, this is true of the old workforce too. We're just newly recognizing it. The new workforce is looking for things like purpose, opportunities to develop ongoing conversations with a coach, not just a boss. I want a manager who leverages my strengths. And these people see work and life as interconnected. They want their job to be part of their identity. So work and life are interconnected. Work matters to me. I want a purpose. This is the deep insight from the very expensive consultants who think hard about the special data they just gathered. We've known this forever, people. This is old news.
Right.
So what we're saying is, look, when you ask Gallup, by the way, what are you supposed to do? They say, well, you have to learn how to have the 5 coaching conversations. And here are the 5 topics that the 5 coaching conversations cover. Not one of which addresses the issue of work and life integration. Not one of which addresses the question of purpose. Great. Thanks for the diagnostic and no help. So what's really going on here is where's the life part? Mm-hmm. So the reframe we're saying is, look, it's not about the job. Mm-hmm. I don't want a great job, is what millions and millions of people are saying. And we've been hearing this for decades. I want a great life with a good job in it.
Right.
So where do you start? Well, okay, one of the first is, that's a whole conversation. It's a 9-hour seminar. But the number one idea is to connect the dots. And the 3 dots you got to connect are, who are you? What do you believe in? What are you doing? If you want to experience meaning making, you have to find a way to interconnect these dots, what we call coherency. I'm living coherently when these things make sense to me and my lived experience complements them. So we actually have an exercise called the compass exercise to help you figure that stuff out. And I'll stop right there. We can kill the slide. But short answer to your question is this new? No, this is not new. It's been going around for a long time, but thankfully people are finally starting to wake up to it.
I mean, I find that so interesting because, especially at Showcase Night, where I hear a lot of people that watch Showcase, the audience members, they come to me and they say, I loved listening to those entrepreneurs. They were so passionate. They had so much dedication. But what I oftentimes sense is kind of actually their comment is really kind of saying, well, how can I get that type of meaning into my own work? Do I got to quit and join Impact Central? It's like, yeah, but, there has to be a better way, right? And I know, Dave, you have some ways that you can maybe share with us of how people can maybe do the compass exercise.
Yeah, but it's true that when you are in an entrepreneurship and starting everything from scratch, It feels like you're part of framing the raison d'etre, and you can connect your life to what we're doing. I mean, one of the reasons I joined Electronic Arts 40 something years ago was to be the second guy. I was employee number 2, and one of my jobs was to help co-author the company manifesto before we even wrote the company business plan. I mean, that felt meaningful. Now, 99.997% of us don't get to do that, but you don't have to go to a startup to get that work done. So if you're going to be an Impact Central investor and stay in your hedge fund, then what you can do is you can do this compass exercise. We can actually help you with some tools to articulate to yourself what I believe, what matters to me, how my work is integrating or not. And most employers aren't going to do that for you. You have to do it for yourself. Now, where meaning comes from is from your extraction of the narrative. So what you do is you write that stuff up, you think it through, and actually have left some tools that Gordon can make available to you. And then you actually have a conversation with yourself, preferably with a coworker, and start working it through. And if there are gaps, you can start filling that in by rewriting your narrative. One of the most powerful things you can do is not necessarily get a new job, but you can rewrite your own narrative, because the game changes all the time. And you got to rehire yourself into a new mindset. That's thing one. And then thing two, there are a lot of ways you can change the job you currently have. The best person to get a new job from is you.
Mm-hmm. And so, when you go about doing that, do you start first with kind of the work life, or do you focus first on like the personal life? How do you decide between those two?
Well, the exercise includes writing 2 either essays or filling out 2 forms. One we call the life view, one we call the work view. Life view is like a worldview. It's your highest held values about the biggest questions you think matter in the world. It's not just personal life. It's just what's the important truth about life in general according to you. And then we zoom it down into the workspace specifically. What are your what is work? What's it for? Is it for service to humanity? Is it for money? Is it for fun? What are we doing this for? Then you write that stuff up. You can start on either one. Interestingly, when we ask people, which one was harder for you to write? It's all over the place. Okay. Very, very seldom do people have these already done. An odd thing about the modern world, where capitalism is the largest country in the world and soccer is the second largest country, that we talk about work all the time. And then you say, well, what do you believe about work? And people go, I'm just spending 80 hours a week at it. I don't think about it. I just do it. So we're giving people a chance to actually think through what they probably already know, but haven't had a chance to articulate. And it can be very powerful.
And on that, I mean, is this kind of a, you do this once and you're set, or have you found in particular with like changes because of the pandemic and other things that people's world might be rocked and you got to do it again?
I do think, again, we just re-released our last book. So Designing Your Work Life is now Designing Your New Work Life, an all new paperback from Vintage. It's going to be in the UK very soon. With 4 new chapters about disruption.
It's here.
There it is. Good job, Gordon. Pitch the book. 4 new chapters on disruption design. We define a disruption as some change, personal, regional, or global, that is so big you say to yourself, man, things are never going to be the same again. So if your world has changed, right, one way or another, then you're probably going to be in a case where some of those life view and work view things might need an update. You don't do them every week, but we're growing people. If you're going to grow, you're going to change. You're not going to throw out everything you think and start all over again every day, but you want to keep fresh. I mean, the smart people are on version 4 or 5 of their life view and work view.
Okay. So you find like kind of maybe you keep these and then you can see a bit of an evolution of your development over time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Dave, I guess, I think the first book you wrote was Designing Your Life, and now it's your work life. Do you feel that, we have a lot of entrepreneurs on the program. How do you kind of fit it if you're shifting in your career and stuff like that? Is that, or as an entrepreneur?
Right. It's, in this conversation specifically about designing work, there's 2 conversations. One is to the worker, talking to you about managing your experience of your own work and how you integrate with your colleagues and so on. And then there's talking to the leader, whether it's just a small team leader or a founder of a big company or a CEO of a huge public entity. Well, any leader, you're creating other people's work. So in that latter case, if I'm taking to the entrepreneurs in Impact Central right now, you're forming your company. You're probably all really small. You're in what I call the osmotic organizational form where everybody knows everything all the time. And it feels like everybody gets to vote on everything all the time. That's not really true, but since they know everything, it feels like they got to vote. And as you grow, you want to make sure you're building a corporate culture and you're building corporate structures that enable and empower people to connect the dots between what they're doing and what's meaningful to them and that sort of thing. You can facilitate that conversation explicitly. There's a bunch of tools in the book to do that, and they're all downloadable. I'm not going to sell them now, but if you're an organizational leader, you have to decide whether or not you're willing to help your employees and team members integrate their entire lives into what work means to them, or you're just going to treat them as a role. The idea we call this the human in the room. I'm not really Dave Evans. I'm the co-founder of the Stanford Life Design Lab, an author of the New York Times bestseller, currently played by Dave Evans. I'm literally two-dimensional person on this screen. I'm playing my role, little guy in a box. But in the company, when you're working together and putting in all that effort, is it really Dave who's here, or just Dave, the systems analyst? Is it really Gordon who's here, or just, Gordon, the product manager? So you want to start thinking about ways to help people get not that they do cooking at the office or they do watercolors at the office, but they can find ways to connect those dots.
Right. And question on that, as you were highlighting, when you're really small organization, everybody's talking, everybody's kind of knows what's going on. It starts to grow. How do you kind of think about it? Because you've obviously been an entrepreneur in growing organizations.
Yeah.
At what point does it kind of become your responsibility to help people do these things? Like, do you find that because they may start feeling disenfranchised, like at how many employees, or what do you kind of know that you have to step in a bit more on the cultural side as a founder?
Yeah, when you're going through those growth points, there really are inflection moments. So like going through puberty, like a year later, it's all different.
Right.
And so I'm working with a very successful NGO right now to absolutely be a great Impact Central candidate. And they've grown, and they're now about 30 odd people. They just had a bunch of money dropped on them. Their growth curve is going to go like this. They're going to go from 2 to 9 sites in the next 4 years. Like, whoa. And I literally helped co-lead the offsite. That was the beginning of the growth launch. Brought in a new COO, some new C-suite people are coming in who really know what they're doing running large organizations. And about half the organization's been there less than a year, and half the organization's been there anywhere from 7 to 2 years. When they were tiny.
Right.
And the legacy people they're kind of getting a neck ache, like, whoa, what's happening here? The new people are like, hey, this is fun. This is great. So for the people who need to shift through that thing, before I could integrate everything I'm doing, because I just knew everything. And so I felt totally loved and felt totally integrated and totally involved because I knew everything. And now I don't know everything. So I have the experience of being left out. And so what you have to do is you actually have to do a much better job communicating at that point. Like, who are we? Where are we going? Why are we doing this? What does it mean to you? Here's the part you play. Here's the chunk of the division you're in, or the unit that you're in. Your team works on this, and that team who you only hear about once a month, not daily. You're not CC'd on every single email written by every single person every single day anymore. So, you hear this stuff sporadic. Well, what are they doing? They're doing the right thing, just like you. And we're all going to meet together at the carousel at the end of the day. And so you really have to walk people through that shift. And I actually encourage people to literally, do a re-enlist and reframe. So literally that job you used to have is the same title and you're the same person, but it's literally a new company. It's a new world. And let's rewrite your job description as you understand it. Let's rewrite your enlistment rationale. Why am I here? And what defines a good day? We have an exercise called the Good Work Journal, where you track daily, not just, what you're enjoying, but, when did I help somebody? When did I learn something? What did I initiate? Ways of catching yourself in the act of feeling like you're making a difference. And that can really help you reorient yourself in a healthy way as things grow. And when they grow, they're going to change. That's the good news.
Dave, I have just one more favor I want to ask you. Could you please bring in our 5th venture tonight?
Sure. Up next is Catherine Pratt talking about pushing envelopes, a whole new take on that thing. Remember paper? It's not all email, boys and girls. It's actually paper still. And we, as makers at the Stanford Life Design Lab, know that becoming a maker can change your life. And Catherine's going to tell you not only how you can change your life by pushing envelopes, you can change somebody else's. So listen up.
During those peculiar days of the first lockdown, Like many folks, I found myself trapped in an endless loop of relentless Zoom calls, daily sanctioned exercise, and, a dash of mild existential dread. And then a spark of joy landed in my postbox. My friend Chloe had sent me a beautiful card with a thoughtful handwritten message and a cocktail umbrella to add a dash of exotic sophistication to the evening gin and tonic, which you can see here, sending a cheers from East to South London. Receiving this card really brightened my day, and it got me thinking, why did this piece of paper have such a big impact on my mood? Firstly, I think it's the fact it was a physical thing. It sat on my bookshelf for many months, reminding me of my friend as I went about my day-to-day life. Secondly, it was the effort that went into sending it. Chloe's a doctor, and the fact that she'd taken the time to send me something made me feel really special. So I was inspired to send more posts, but I've really struggled to find designs online that I actually liked, and ultimately, despite the best of intentions, failed to create a sustained letter writing habit. I'm Catherine Pratt, and this is why I founded Pushing Envelopes. We are a direct-to-consumer stationery company, currently focused on selling premium greeting cards via our website. We partner with independent artists to create unique limited edition selections of designs, and we're planning to share educational content via our newsletter, blog, and Instagram to educate and inspire our customers to send more letters. So why is sending more letters important? Numerous studies have shown that sharing handwritten letters has a host of mental and physical health benefits for the sender and the receiver. The last 18 months has shown us that we really need to get more intentional about how we communicate. Working, socializing, and relaxing, all via screens, strains our eyes, our brains, and our relationships. And it's the quality of our relationships that's so fundamental to staving off the impacts of loneliness on our health. I was really shocked to learn that loneliness can be as bad for you as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And given that even before the pandemic, 1 in 5 people reported feeling often or always lonely according to the Red Cross, we really need to do more to address this huge public health issue. Much like our physical and mental health, we need to invest time in looking after our social health. We need to invest the same level of energy into our body, our minds, and our relationships. And that's why Pushing Envelopes is on a mission to help you prioritize your social health and support projects to tackle loneliness. In 2022, we're going to launch a pen pal project where volunteers will be invited to send one-off positive communications to folks in care homes and charity service users. And every purchase on our site will support this initiative. Alongside our intended impact, we believe there's a major commercial opportunity in the world of stationery. The singles greeting card market alone is worth £1.4 billion in the UK. We believe we are uniquely positioned to capture market share thanks to our quality products, our educational content, and our social impact mission. So what's next? We're going to focus on refining our brand and our content offering. We will expand our product range across different stationery categories, and we'll also be piloting our pen pal project next year. So how can you get involved? Christmas is rapidly approaching, so make sure you head to our website to secure some of our wonderful Christmas cards. Secondly, if you like the sound of the pen pal project, drop us an email and we can tell you more about it. And finally, make sure you sign up to our newsletter. We've got lots of exciting things planned across 2022, and we can't wait to share them with you.
Thanks, Catherine. I totally know what you mean, and I'm sure lots of people in the audience also do when you say that there's just that special feeling when you get a letter sent to you in the post and what that feels like when it's something tangible. And I think it's really lovely how you're also able to tie in a way to address loneliness, which is such a devastating issue that's growing. I know that a lot of people, when they hear the word startup, they think technology. Well, our next venture, Anomi, is going to share with us their vision for how virtual reality can change our lives for the better. Please join me in welcoming the founders of Anomi, Nina Solomons and Liam McKill.
name is Helemans.
And I'm Liam McKill.
And we are the co-founders of Anomi XR, a virtual reality therapy platform.
And our mission is to use immersive technologies to help create positive narratives and bring mental health care into the future.
Have you ever felt like this? Some of you might not realize your house is on fire, or you can smell the smoke, but you're told to man up and move on. This meme is how we treat our mental health. Before COVID, mental disorders were already the leading cause of global health-related burdens. With COVID, depression and anxiety disorders have increased. Urgent and emergency referrals for young people have increased by 90% from last year. So, mental health services went online, but with that, they can't read body language, they can't keep their clients from being distracted, they can't keep their clients safe, and ultimately, they lost a lot of clients. We believe virtual reality can help make this journey more accessible, less awkward, and just a little cooler. In 2018, I was hired as an immersive consultant to bring virtual reality into prisons for well-being. Prisoners told me that VR had reduced their thoughts of suicide and self-harm. And meeting them, I thought many of them simply needed mental health support. What if I could put them in a VR headset, have them meet a therapist, and draw how they're really feeling? During lockdown, my bedroom became a prison cell, and I had access to a VR headset, Wi-Fi, and a therapist. In VR, I drew how COVID was ravaging my body and mind to a therapist in Hong Kong. I was able to do this without any words, and I knew then I had to set up Anomi.
So I'm Liam McKill, and I'm the co-founder of Anomi XR. I'm also a virtual reality native. This metaverse thing you're just hearing about now, well, I've been living in it for almost 4 years now. I started building virtual worlds for fun, and for me, it became a form of therapy. This led to me working with big brands to help them to tell their stories in VR. So, when at the beginning of lockdown, Nina approached me and said, hey, look, it's great that you're using this technology to help big brands to tell their stories, but what if we could create a platform that helped people to tell their stories, change their narrative, and also to improve their mental well-being in the process? I knew that this could work because it had already worked for me. We've done over 20 hours of interviews with certified therapists from the British Association of Art Therapy, and we built a prototype based on their needs. Here's a quick clip.
Why don't you make that smaller?
Sure.
Yes. And how does that make you feel?
It's like a weight off my shoulders.
How do you think your parents feel?
Guilty? They can see me now.
We're building on an already established form of therapy, art therapy. And in virtual reality, you can do things that are impossible in the real world, like scaling objects or changing your perspective. And if the therapist wants, they can put on the VR headset and they can even join their client, or they can run group sessions. Want to paint? Draw in 3D. Too intimidated to paint? You can choose from our pre-built assets like a house, a tree, or a car, and build your scene that way. This is our CTO Emmanuel showing you just how easy that is to do.
The future is already here. Facebook has rebranded to Meta and has promised to invest $10 million into the AR and VR industry. Last year, VR headsets grew by 350%, and the immersive healthcare sector is expected to bring £316.6 billion to the global GDP by 2030. We've already been speaking to the head of innovation at NHS, as well as the National Institute of Mental Health and Innovation. As VR headsets become more affordable, we know that Anomi can make therapy more accessible and reduce the strain on mental health services.
We know Anomi works. We have therapists waiting for this product right now. We have the corporate partners and we have the research partners. And most importantly, we have the team to build it. We're looking to expand our team to include marketing and sales. We're also including a dashboard into Anomi so therapists can use both qualitative and quantitative data to track their clients' progress. We're even introducing wearables and brain-to-computer interfacing so you can hack into your heart rate and check your anxiety response in real time. Anomi is as customizable as possible because we don't believe in one-size-fits-all. Unlike our competitors, we don't want pre-built gamified scenarios. And that makes us incredibly scalable and affordable. We're in the process of raising $350K to take our prototype to MVP stage by the first half of next year.
The future of mental health care is changing. Anomi, I know me. If you are interested in our product and want to try it out, please scan the QR code and reach out to us.
Thank you.
Good evening again, everybody. I'm Sarah Louise, one of the co-founders here at Impact Central. And we're going to take you through the Impact Central Christmas gift guide this evening. Christmas is a really busy time of year, and it's so tempting to want to get all our Christmas shopping over and done with in one fell swoop. We've got something exciting to offer you. We've created a gift guide again, featuring all of the amazing and inspiring businesses that have come through our program. And I'm absolutely delighted to be joined here this evening by Esther Knight, who's the founder of Fanfare Label. Esther has very kindly let me borrow this beautiful jacket that I'm wearing tonight. That's part of her label. And Fanfare are on a mission to change how we consume fashion. And I just love to ask you a little bit maybe about the label. So why did you start it in the first place, and what's behind it?
Yeah, of course. Jacket looks amazing, by the way.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, so I started Fanfare Label because I've actually worked in the fashion industry for over 10 years now, and I was a buyer, and a buyer is responsible for everything that you see in the store. We manage the full production process, and because of this, buyers are responsible with things, whether they're unethical or ethical. And it was actually just witnessing all of this firsthand that I realized that there was a lot of really bad behavior going on in the fashion industry, from child slavery to human trafficking, no health and safety, and then that's not even to mention the environmental impact. So I started Fanfare Label to really offer an alternative to fast fashion, so people can shop contemporary, cool clothing, but know that people and planet are protected as well.
Amazing. And can you tell us a little bit about the makers behind the label?
Yeah, so it's actually really great because we get everything produced locally within London. So it means that we can have a brilliant relationship with all of our suppliers. It also means that we can go a step further and get involved in social initiatives and community initiatives. One of the ones that we're working with at the moment is through the London College of Fashion. And we actually, the suppliers that we use teach women in prisons to get a qualification so that they then can be hired when they're released. And we've worked with a similar project within the homeless initiative as well. So it means that we can go a step further.
Awesome. Can you tell us maybe a little bit about what you've done since you've been on the program? Now, you're very humble, but I will be delighted to say that you've been featured in London Fashion Week several times. You've also been in Vogue, the Sunday Times, Harper's Bazaar, Glamour Magazine, and many others. But what have you been up to in the past couple of years?
Yeah, well, the program was brilliant. It gave us a real stepping stone to what we needed to achieve. Last couple of years has obviously been the pandemic, so it looks totally different to what it was meant to have looked like. But we've had some brilliant achievements. We've been at London Fashion Week. We've won 4 awards for our circularity approaches, which is great. And we were actually in Selfridges over the summer, which was really exciting.
Amazing. And a lot of people, including myself, are very conscious of the fact that clothing cannot always be good for the environment in how it's produced, but yet feel a little bit baffled about what to do about it. So what should people be looking for perhaps when they're shopping, or what are your top tips in that area?
Yeah, so one of my biggest top tips, and actually I've stolen this from Vivienne Westwood, but it's so true, and it's actually just buy less, make it last, and choose well. And that kind of mantra is actually, let's just cherish the pieces that we buy. Buy less clothing, make it last longer, because no fashion items should be disposable, nothing should be ending up in landfill. And then you value that product so much more, where it might cost a bit more money, but you're buying less items to make it really last in your wardrobe. And then in terms of spotting greenwashing, it's all over the high street at the moment, and I would say really do your research on brands. When people mention environmental aspects of whether something's made from organic cotton, question where it's actually being made in the factory element. You can't be sustainable in one way and ignore the rest. Sustainability is a 360 approach. So always look at your labels. Lots of tricks out there, like it says 40% organic cotton and 60% polyester, and then it's a sustainable range. Well, that's not sustainable, it's not biodegradable. biodegradable at end of life. So really check your labels and take your time. Be conscious shoppers, slow fashion, just consider every purchase.
Amazing. We really want to change how people consume and how they shop at Christmas, and that's why we have put together the gift guide to support the amazing and inspiring businesses that we know and love. And there are 3 things that you guys that are watching at home can do. So first of all, you can tell 5 friends about the Impact Central Christmas gift guide. That's number 1. Number 2 is you can share it on your socials. And if you're sharing it on your socials, which is also number 3, you can use a campaign hashtag that is being used in the UK for independent makers. And that campaign hashtag should be popping into the chat at some point. And that is, it's not very catchy, but it's Campaign Shop Independent. And you'll be helping to spread the word of these amazing businesses on our programme. I'm now absolutely delighted to introduce our next presenter, and that is Jan Helemans from The Planet Life.
The future isn't a place we're going to go, it's a place we get to create. Hi everyone, my name is Jan, and this is me with my family hiking in Snowdonia last spring. When this picture was taken, I was working at a global design agency, and one day I was asked to work with a new client, which was a major oil company. Now at the same time, these scary messages about climate change and biodiversity loss were popping up left, right, and center, and so working with a client that actually adds to the pollution didn't really sit right with me. And so I became an activist, trying to change my lifestyle as much as I could. There's an ancient proverb that says, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. And when I stumbled upon this proverb, it made me realize I want to do everything I can to give my little girl a future full of opportunities. And some of you in the audience might have tried to make more conscious decisions for the environment as well. And maybe you're struggling with it. Now, let me tell you, you're definitely not alone, because over 2/3 of young adults experience what they call eco-anxiety. They experience fear, stress, frustration. And even more so, up to 74% feel powerless. They want to do something, but don't quite know where to start. And all of this is causing youth disillusionment, which means that the current generation loses faith in today's economic and political institutions. So if we can't build the structures for a sustainable future today, our society as we know it will collapse. So we need to move towards a sustainable future, and young professionals ready to contribute, I started Planet Life with a mission to make climate action accessible and turn a sustainable society into a reality. And our goal is to help 1 million people find their place within climate action by 2030. Now, to understand what people actually are looking for, we started by organizing events like talks and workshops, and we also conducted research by interviewing people and sending out surveys. And so what we learned is that young professionals are really looking for solutions, climate solutions, because they're eager to know more. Secondly, people are really passionate about this topic and kind of desperate for more active participation. And then finally, we also saw this new trend that's on the rise, where people are looking for ways to shift their career towards more positive environmental impact. Now with the Planet Life, our digital platform enables young professionals to turn eco-anxiety into action. And there are 3 main parts of the platform I would like to talk you through today. So first, we have Discovery, where we inspire young professionals to explore climate solutions with highly curated content, such as documentaries, articles, research, and podcasts. We develop their skills by providing training courses, workshops, talks, and expert classes. And we also support action by providing opportunities to work on climate projects. And we do this by connecting people to NGOs, charities, and startups to work on these real-world challenges. And on top of that, we also match candidates to positive environmental impact jobs. We plan to offer our platform as a freemium model to individuals, whilst also providing it as a B2B employee training platform. That's a market that is projected to grow to over $180 billion over the next 5 years. And as part of our social commitment, we invest in equal opportunity initiatives for the education and engagement of underprivileged young adults. Now, over the next 12 months, we're looking to build an MVP version of our digital platform and engage our target market. Now, this means designing and developing the platform, building a brand, and also growing our community. And we're looking for support to get us to the next step, which could be via knowledge sharing, providing connections, or funding. No matter where you are on your climate journey, the future is a place we get to create together. So if you feel you could be supporting us on our journey, please don't hesitate to reach out via LinkedIn or email. Thank you.
Thanks for that great presentation, Jan. You really gave us a good idea about what a Planet Life is going to be in 2020, the Planet Life is going to be in 2022, and I can't wait to attend some of those exciting events. Well, SL, your Christmas gift guide has really gotten me into the spirit of Christmas. I can't wait to get back home and order some of those fabulous jeans on Fanfare label for my daughters. Now, the guide also gives you a lot of ways that you can give fantastic gifts to your friends and at the same time show them how much you care for people and planet. Well, that's it for our show tonight, but there's a few things that I'm sure some people might want to know. For example, let's say you're an impact entrepreneur and you're thinking, how do I get on the next program at Impact Central? Can you help us with that, SL?
Sure. It's also very hard to take you seriously wearing that ridiculous suit, but I'll try. So what you can do is go to the website, impactcentral.co.uk/program. You can read about all the different benefits that the program will be to your business. We have the January Accelerator coming up, and we're still accepting applications through to the end of tomorrow. In addition to submitting your application form, a link will also drop in the chat now. We also have an event tomorrow evening at 5 called Meet the Founders, and that's your opportunity to ask any question you might have to the founders on our current program. We don't prep them, we don't brief them, we just let them loose, and they can say whatever they want to. So that's a really brilliant opportunity to figure out if this is the right fit for you and your business before submitting your application form. We're really, really excited about our January cohort, and we still have some places left, so please do apply.
Thanks for that, SL. And for the general audience, if they want to hear more about things that we have going on with regards to communications and activities, where might they turn?
Sure. So we've got 2 fun events that we're talking about at the minute as well for 2022. On Wednesday, the 2nd of February, we're hopefully going to be doing our first in-person event, and that's going to be a live podcast recording, and we would love you to join us on that. That's an opportunity for you to get together, to meet the Impact community, and to witness a podcast being recorded live with Gordon and I, and some special guests. We have a podcast, the link for that will drop in the chat. Also, just search Impact Central Leadership Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And then the second event is our next showcase, which is at the very end of March. Again, you can book that tonight for both the podcast launch party and the showcase. There are early bird tickets available that will only be available at this very special price until midnight tomorrow. After that, the prices will go up.
Can I wear the suit for the podcast live?
Probably not. No.
Okay, well, with that, it's just one more thing left to do, which is to say some important thank yous. First of all, we'd like to thank the 7 amazing ventures that presented to you tonight. We just salute them for their passion in their businesses and for the impact that they're working so hard to achieve. Secondly, we'd like to thank Ginny Radmal and Dave Evans for their knowledge and insight that they shared, and just and they represent all the amazing faculty that come on to Impact Central and give so generously of their time to support Impact founders. Third, we'd love to make a big shout out to Tom Fenton and his team. Tom is our production maestro and the genius behind the camera, and the evening would run nowhere near as smooth without Tom. It's an amazing production, and we hope you really enjoyed that, and we have Tom to thank for that. And finally, we want to thank you, our audience, for giving us your time, for listening to what we want to talk about, which is impact and how that's going to change the world. And we recognize that it's a choice, that there's hopefully ways that you feel you can get engaged, and that tonight's show has given you some ideas of how you might be able to make a change in the world, either through supporting some of these ventures or maybe some initiatives on your own. So with that, I'd just like to say goodnight on behalf of the whole team at Impact Central, and thanks again for watching.